So welcome everybody. And we are recording, are we not, Alex?
I believe so.
Yes, we definitely are. All right, so welcome this afternoon with Lifecycle Insights. I believe the title of today is Simplifying Your QBR Process. I don't believe, I know it is. So we're going to take a look at simplifying our QBR process and using Lifecycle Insights to do that. So first, to introduce ourselves, we are Alex Farling and Marnie Stockman. So Alex was an MSP and I come from the world of customer success. But before we dive into kind of how we can help simplify the QBR process, I'm going to have Alex, who was an MSP, give a little bit of our backstory on the pain that I'm sure is very familiar to all of you and really was the impetus for starting Lifecycle Insights.
Well, let's be honest. If you're an MSP owner, you understand pain, right? These guys eat, sleep, and breathe it. It's been a tough week for all of them. We totally get it. But when I had my MSP, I had the same problems that everybody else does. And mine were. I looked at it from a different angle because I was a sales guy who owned an MSP, where most of these are really smart engineering types who own an MSP. And they take things from a different perspective. My issue was I had all this data in all these systems and I couldn't get to it. It was really frustrating to me to try and go make a sales pitch or even just give my client a client update and say, this is where we are, because I had to pull data from 4 different systems, cobble it all together, make spreadsheets, make Word documents, try and make it all pretty, which I was not inherently good at. Still am not. And so, it was really challenging. It was a lot of work. And we would do these quarterly business reviews that the industry told me I had to do. I would go out and meet with my clients with raggedy looking spreadsheets and just not the best of data that I had spent all day putting together. I mean, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours. My biggest client took 7, 8 hours every single time. And I still wasn't proud of the work we were putting in. And in an industry where we have to be 100% right 100% of the time to beat the bad guys, putting out data that just wasn't quality or that I wasn't even convinced was right was unacceptable. So it just took even more time than that. And as the story goes from then on, a guy and a girl walk into a bar, right? Marnie and I had been playing volleyball one night, and she says, we were sitting around having a drink afterwards, and she says, I got some really great developers and we're looking for a project. And I said, well, that's great, because I have a problem about this big we can solve for. And I spelled out what it is that we were struggling with and said, there's got to be a better way, right? We should be able to report on this data that exists easily, quickly, consistently. We should be able to build the same thing twice, because over my desk in my office was a sign that said, if you have to do it twice, automate it. I wasn't wizard enough to do this with PowerShell, so certainly needed a bigger hammer or a bigger smart guy, something like that, to come take care of it. And that's where Lifecycle was built from. And the problem that we're aiming to solve for today is the same, right? Getting that data for MSPs, translating it from technical to business owner speak, and delivering it in a fashion that helps business owners make easy decisions.
Yes, and that's what brought us here today, basically.
That is it.
Yeah, if any of those pains sound familiar, then you're in the right place. So this week I posted on LinkedIn a poll that said, where are you struggling to scale your business review process? And this was the distribution of responses. Predominantly busy working in the business, don't know where to start, need to automate reporting, and can't get clients to meet. So if you care to participate informally, feel free to put in the chat which of those resonates most for you. But we're really going to talk through today how we solve some of these problems, actually all of the problems, and what pieces address this. So if you're busy working on the business and you don't have time to work in the business, we want to show you how we can save you some time. One of our partners talks about going from spending 10 to 12 hours prepping for a QBR to an hour and a half. We have another who used to spend a couple hours and now has his tier 1 tech and his account manager prep, and he handles it about 15 minutes before delivering the QBR and then 15 minutes after. So
he does 3 a day. He does 3 a day on QBR days, which is impressive to me, because I was a heavy helping of answer number 3, and with a side of answer number 1, right? Because it took me too long, so it dragged me away from working on the business, which really frustrated me.
Oh, and thanks for putting that in the chat. Okay, Alex, a former contact. So if you don't know where to start.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Way back in the day. That's too funny. That's awesome. Okay.
So if you don't know where to start, hopefully we give you some tips today. We also, Alex, remind me, we can hunt down the link to the agenda that we're happy to pop out and share as a good starting point for folks, and can't get clients to meet. I think as we talk through what we can deliver at a QBR now, it brings a lot more value and strategic conversation to the party, which is why clients don't meet, as if they don't see the value. But I think, well, in today's day and age, there are lots of reasons they understand the value a little more, but we have some more talking points to add to it. So before we do this live in the platform, for those of you that make sure you want to, stay on, when we look at what we have to offer. So we integrate with the following PSAs: ConnectWise Manage, Datto Autotask, Synchro, Halo PSA. We also integrate with IT Glue. You need one of those primary integrations in order to be able to pull over data so that we can give you insights into your warranty lookups and asset lifecycle. We even clean up your data with some warranty lookups: Dell, Lenovo, HP, Microsoft Surface, Cisco, SmartNet, and Meraki. So we can do the cleanup around those pieces. We also have secondary integrations with Microsoft 365 and just now LineGuard, which will get you more information around users, and as well as in the LineGuard case, we pull over Chrome operating system and G Suite devices. So those are the pieces that we grab from the integrations to give you this first level dashboard reporting. We help you clean up that data so that we can build out an asset list. So this list is easily configurable, which I'll show you in a bit, which allows you to project to a budget forecast, so that we can align business pains, like all of those red assets, with an assessment. So the first thing we do is the asset pieces to automate the QBR reporting. The second piece that we do is we allow you to either use one of our templates or one of your own templates to give a risk assessment. And you can see with everything in stoplight color reporting, red, yellow, green, that it's easy to sell to get the red out, right? Customers understand red. As a matter of fact, last night we were talking to one of our Australian partners who mentioned, like, I don't even care what the number is in that box half the time. The clients see the red and they just want to take care of it. I mentioned the budget forecast. So we push all of those expired assets to a budget forecast, because this is really where you have the strategic conversation between these two pieces: the risk assessment, what business pains is it causing, and the technology forecast budget for how are we going to address them moving forward in the future. We tie all of those pieces together for you in a project so you can connect the business pain with the technology cost, so that it doesn't become a conversation of if they're going to do it, but really when, because they can see the connection between the two. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to dive into the platform now. I like to say I'm Italian, so I don't consider it interrupting. I consider it participating. So if you have questions, put them in on the chat. Alex will chime in if he's got some color commentary to add. Or if he sees one of your questions, and it would be a good time to.
This is being recorded, so I have to promise not to make the commentary too colorful.
Yes, some pastel colored commentary along the way. So let me jump in to our demo site. So here we are. This screenshot looks familiar because it's exactly the one I just pulled up on the other on the PowerPoint. And this is, again, the dashboard that gives you some data analysis of where your current client stands. So this is for a single client. And in our drop-down menu, you can select your clients and see both how their data quality is. Alex talked about questioning whether or not the data looked good to do a QBR. You want to be in the green to make sure you're covering all the assets, because you definitely can't secure an asset you don't know about. And if you're not replacing it, that's only causing a larger threat. And then the other piece is really this total technology debt. So if they replaced all of their expiring or about to expire assets, that is kind of the gap in what they would need to spend. And there's certainly decisions to be made around that. But as you click through your clients, you can see the different pieces. Hogwarts, they must be protecting themselves with some magic because they've got a lot of tech debt that they would need to handle to cover pieces. So in the dashboard, let me go back to creative designs. With this data quality score right out of the gate, this is probably not the color you're going to see, because we see a lot coming over from the integrations from the PSAs that are a lower data quality score. Again, our warranty lookups certainly help to improve that. But we also we give you insights into where your data is missing information. So what we find is that the PSAs are really good at one asset at a time, but to get a global sense of where am I missing make, model, or serial number, so that I could project something to a budget and add a replacement cost to it, they don't give you those insights. So here we make it obvious. You can download this, send it to a tier 1 tech or an intern. So we need to clean this up because we're doing a business review with our clients next week. Once you clean up your data, we have the asset list. So the asset list, again, shows you all of the assets for a client, as well as we have color columns with operating system, warranty expiration date, and end of life. So we call this swatching, which will allow you to eliminate the swatches of colors that you're not interested. If you only want to see the assets that have end of life operating systems with the stoplight reporting where red is bad and green is good, then we want to just look at the red ones. And it's probably true. We should get rid of all these Windows 7's machines. That's a good idea. So you can use this across multiple columns. So a good question to ask would be, where do I have warranties expiring? So that would be red warranties. And my assets are not at end of life. This really limited this to a list that is consumable for a client. You could print it out as is to Word or CSV. And the question here to ask yourself is, for these assets down here where the assets themselves are not nearing end of life, should we go buy a manufacturer warranty? And where these assets are approaching end of life but aren't there yet, do we want to get a warranty, or are we just going to hope for the best for 2 months? Your decision, but at least we highlight that for you to make that decision. The other really important piece on the asset list is the replacement cost. So you have the ability to set this replacement cost at the asset type level. So workstations, servers, printers, et cetera, could all be different values across all of your companies, for an individual company, and even for an individual asset. So Alex likes to tease me because I'm a Mac girl. So for sure,
I would never.
I would have to go into, we have to go into my asset and say, sorry, we can't get $1,000 Dell. We're going to get her an $1,800 PC. So I can overwrite any of the values, but this gives you a sense of what we pull in from your PSA. And I'll hover over on the warranty details. So we'll go out when your warranty is about to expire and start looking to see if you purchased a new one. So we always keep that up to date. So Alex and I both know that we talk quickly, so I'll take a pause there. If you have questions about that, feel free to put it in the chat as I move over to the user list. Okay, so with the user list, we have the same idea as the assets, that what we're trying to identify is where your users are in your PSA compared to Microsoft Office. Inside Microsoft Office, you can see we have assigned products and last activity date as well. So you could ask questions like, why are there folks not in ConnectWise that are in Microsoft Office? Why have some of them never logged in? Why has it been 6 months? Are there expiring licenses that we need to be concerned about with some security issues? So if you're looking for the conversation, the first step conversation on how to get someone to the table, this is a very easy, consumable, and timely conversation to have. I think, Alex, we've had several folks say that the very first thing they've done is gone clean up their user list and gone and asked clients, we need to have a conversation around what has happened to these accounts, these licenses, where the passwords are,
Yep.
and if you're overpaying for licenses or if there are security risks aligned to that.
We had one MSP, the day that they signed up, they found 70 licenses in Microsoft 365 across all their customers that were not being used anymore. They were outdated licenses that should have been canceled. They were overbilling their clients almost $1,000 a month just for this. So they were able to pull back and retire all those licenses, get it cleaned up, and catch it before their client caught it. and really made them look bad. So a lot of MSPs find that there are just mistakes and errors in here, and that lends us nicely to this question that was asked. And that is, do we have G Suite integration for this? So we can get your Google users if you are also a LionGuard partner. That data does not traditionally live in one of our APIs, but if you're a LionGuard partner, we can get G Suite users and G Suite data for you. We can also get Microsoft MFA status. So if you want to see if a user has MFA turned on or not, that's also available right now only to our LionGuard partners. We may add some of those functionalities with direct integrations later, but today that is a LionGuard only data set.
And along with the LionGuard, we also pull over Azure AD.
Azure AD, managed mobile devices, a couple extra things. Yeah. So
yeah,
if you're interested in some of those extra data points, reach out to me on the side and we'll talk about it.
Absolutely. So I'm working my way down the list, but I'm going to jump over budget forecast and projects because I want to talk about all the pieces that can land in a budget forecast. And I want to talk about contracts. As of today, contracts are manual entry, but I happen to know for a fact today, the development team kicked off their research on grabbing agreements from PSAs so that we could pull them into contracts. But for right now, you would manually enter any contracts that really you would like to show on a technology budget to give them a total IT spend, as well as be able to have some insights into things like maybe their VoIP provider service that is expiring in 60 days and they're not happy with, and they're not using your VoIP provider. So for you to be able to have the conversation of, okay, in a couple months, you're going to re-up with RingCentral or whoever, and we'd like to show you OIT. Is that something you'd be interested in, or our preferred provider? So this gives you a strategic reason to need the information, and the strategic value that you provide to them is, one, more supportable services if they move to the technology that you're most comfortable with, and also the full IT budget, right? To really be able to project all of the technology for the CTO or the CIO on their end is extremely powerful. We get a lot of feedback from folks saying that right there gets them to the table every quarter to have the conversation because they want to be able to project out. So that is the contract piece. So those are the individual components. And I want to talk to projects by way of assessment. So I'm going to go into assessments first, and you'll see how this all ties together in a nice little bow. So under assessments, I mentioned at the beginning that you can use one of our templates, or you can build a template of your own. So you could literally start from scratch, or what about 90% of our clients do is they start from our default template and whittle down from there. So here's our library of some assessments that we have in the platform. And we're going to take a look at the default assessment, but I just wanted to give you a sense that we do come with about 10 right out of the gate. So if I've decided we want to take a look at the default assessment and know that all of this is customizable, if there's a word, a technology, a category, anything you wanted to change, you absolutely could. But let's dive in to take a look at what it looks like when you're actually taking an assessment. And I give this so many times, I always forget which one I want to use. We'll go in here and see which one I grabbed. Okay, so in here, I'm going to collapse all the categories. You can see the default assessment has 7 categories: hardware, security, continuity, business application software, policy and procedures, strategic and regulatory compliance. I like to point out that in regulatory compliance, this is just a question of, do we need to follow one of these compliance initiatives or frameworks for this particular client? So this is not the 200 questions that would go behind this if you said, this is a NIST, framework that we would need to follow. But when you dive into each of the categories, you can see that this question deals with workstations, and you score them again on the same stoplight coloring of which workstations are past end of life, which are, do I have warranty? Are we all good, right? Are we all up to date and green on this? Or are we somewhere in the middle with some needs attention? So down here in public comments, you can write notes or projects, remediation plans that you want to present when you review this with your clients. And if you want to see historically what you've done, you could show scoring instructions. So that is a link to maybe it is IT Glue, Hoodoo, another documentation system of where you're going, how you're going to score this item. You could show any previous responses. So you can see that I've already given this question on 2 other assessments. and it's been at risk both times. At this point, I really need to convince my client that there are at-risk items that have been lingering now, and I'm on my third quarter. It is time to address some of these pieces.
And also of note here, you can see the public comments that are going into those previous responses too. So if we made a recommendation to the client, it's probably also listed here. So that you have some assistance in remembering the conversations you've had with the client in the past on it, right? We two quarters ago when we had our business review, we presented a solution to this, and you still haven't agreed to sign on for it. What's going on here?
Yep. Private comments, if you need to make internal comments, while they didn't commit to this, right, check back in a month because there's movement in that direction, that type of thing. And then any other, if you want to revise any of these, you can certainly edit a response, etc. The most popular version of this download, so we have a couple different ways to show this report, is, let me grab it, is this one. So this gives you a high-level overview at the category level. So if you are the client looking at this assessment, it is very easy to see that hardware is your largest concern, right? That's where your red is. And, you know, the yellow is next up. Everything else looks okay for now. So that's the top page of the report. As you dive in, you can see that each category, so the hardware category, has all of the assessment items listed and their associated score. So this is why hardware is in bad shape. We have a lot of at-risk items. At the end of the report in the appendix, we aggregate all of the red items. So we put together all of the at-risk items along with the summary as well as the comments. So these are those public comments where you've got your remediation plans, projects, really to help your client prioritize their needs, which one is causing you the business pain, why, and what are we going to do about it? So the power of this is not just to be able to present the business use case to it, but be able to show them what they can do about it. So I'm going to go back into the main page of assessments and look at analytics by customer. So the first piece I'll show you is without a doubt one of the favorite pieces for MSPs, because one thing we hear all of the time is that we struggle to show our value, right? The joke is, if everything's broken, why am I paying you? If nothing's broken, why am I paying you? Right there. What is the return on this investment? So here I can really take a look at, here was the last assessment that we gave you. If we do these projects, this is where we will be next. And we're going to move your IT health from a 44 to a 73. Now, one thing in our platform, our pricing model is based on the number of clients that you pull over for asset lookup, basically, for the automated reporting pieces. If you are above our basic plan, then you can do assessments for prospects or existing customers beyond those that you are paying for. So if you have 10 clients that you are paying for, you can do assessments on 300 clients. So you can really show a pre-sales assessment along with what that would look like if they came to work with you. So they understand what doing business with your MSP looks like. So you can see that in each of the categories as well. And you'll talk about, now next time we come in, the hardware is slowly aging out, right? So that's going backwards a bit. And we're going to have a conversation about that next time, but we need to address your business application software piece first. The other piece is once you're in the assessments, I can grab the one that I was just looking at and say, okay, if these are all of the items, I want to grab these 3 items because I think all of these 3 will address one common issue that I can remediate with a specific project. So I'm going to create a project from those selected items. It pulls those items in the response right over into a project. And now I can link that to the specific assets. So maybe, just maybe, those Windows 7 items are causing the problem. I can grab all of them easily, put them on the project, and now you have every serial number, you know, every device name, etc. So your CEO very much cares about this, and he very much cares that you know about this, but he or she does not necessarily need to know item by item. So to be able to just speak to the assessment item, it brings the value of how this is going to, how paying for this project is going to solve these pains. So those are all of the pieces that push to our budget forecast. So now I'm going to come back up and jump into budget forecast. So with budget forecast, we give you a lot of flexibility. An item lands on the budget forecast if it is an expired asset, so red in the asset list, if it is on a project, or if it is on one of the contracts that come due on a specific time period. There's a lot of flexibility in the budget forecasting. You can select all of your categories, the status for your projects, and you can determine if you want a quarterly budget, a yearly budget, or a monthly budget, and up to 12 periods. So a lot of times we have folks send in, kind of print out both a 6-quarter detail budget that has every single asset that's going to be replaced, along with a high-level overview 6-year budget, so that we can really say, you've been paying, but you pay us about $6,000 a year, but in 2 years you've got a server coming due, and it's going to be much more expensive that year. So again, to turn the conversation from if you are going to have an expense to when you're going to have the expense and when the project's going to happen. So that's kind of the value of pushing to the budget forecast. Alex, anything in the budget that you like to point out that I didn't mention?
Well, my favorite points in the budget are simply, I, as a former MSP owner, I had the unpleasant conversation when we surprised a client and said, hey, Windows XP has to go away. I need you to replace 40 machines, and that's going to be $38,000. And oh, by the way, it's got to happen in the next month and a half, right? Nothing makes an IT guy more unpopular except losing data, right? So, and we surprise our customers all the time because we just don't have the tools in front of us to plan ahead. Our PSA tools, while they do a lot of things well, strategic forward thinking and planning, not something they do well. So this budget allows you to get numbers out in front of your customer years in advance, to be waving the flag that, hey, 2023 is kind of going to suck. And we can talk about it a long time in advance to make sure that we've set the stage, that we've prepped the client, that they're saving money, looking into finance options, spreading out their lifecycle replacements so they don't have to take it all at once. But really having that strategic conversation instead of that little one-off tactical conversation about replacing Sally's computer at the front desk because it's old and slow and it doesn't work anymore, right? We're thinking way out ahead. And it's the first time our client has seen this. So these were some of the biggest, bright-eyed mouth drop conversations I've had with my customers was, here's what your budget's going to be for the next 5 years. And the finance people go, holy cow, I've never gotten a budget from IT before. So it gets very interesting when you can finally go to your client with a really forward-thinking strategic budget, and all of a sudden they look at you different. You're not the wrench turning guy who fixes problems. You're the strategic guy who's helping them with a long-term roadmap and plan.
Exactly. Thank you. Since you were talking about kind of the presentation piece, I want to show Report Builder now. So if you think about the components of a business review, you could easily come in and select all of these and print out the reports, but we wanted the ability to kind of create your own special sauce button, right? Your own easy button that says, I always want my business to review to look like this. So Report Builder will allow you to do that. It allows you to define the components of your business review in the order that you want, so that you, with a click of a button, you can switch clients and build your own business review. So you can grab components from any of the features of our platform, plus, Microsoft Word files, text boxes, etc. I'm going to grab a template that Alex put together so that you can see what that would look like. So inside we have a cover page, an agenda, and I'm going down the left-hand side in the same way that you would in kind of a slide deck, right? The interesting piece is, as I build it, it saves all of my settings. So any of these settings that we have turned on, so this is the 5-year budget, it saves those. Any of the swatching that I have done, it will save that. So this is what I always want my asset list that's called assets near warranty expiration. It's always going to save these, right? So these are warranties expired, assets at end of life, time to replace. Same thing inside users, any contracts, etc. So this is all very consistent. If you look at the top, I'm in creative designs. If I want to see this exact same report for Get Well Medical Services, I can switch and get the exact same report. So as I switch through different clients, it's going to rebuild the reports exactly the same order, very consistent across all of your customer service managers, et cetera, that they deliver the same reports. So whoever's presenting in your company has a consistent message. The other piece of this report is in the upper right-hand corner, you have the ability to download this to Word. So instead of having to go download and cobble together reports within our platform, you could also just present from here. So I'm going to hit present mode. And what we heard from our partners at the beginning of the pandemic was that they were using PowerPoints and cutting and pasting the reports from Lifecycle Insights into their platform. So what we've done is give you the ability to just view in presentation mode for your clients the actual reports. The power of this is you get a lot more on the page than you do in a PowerPoint, but also you can still work within the reporting. So if the client said, show me what workstations I have overdue in January, you can dive in and they say, that second Optiplex, I don't remember where that is. What can you tell me about it? You can actually dive into the asset list and see it there. So you don't have to deliver them every piece of information. You are able to present it and then troubleshoot along the way as you answer questions. So all of the pieces build on the screen that you can talk through. And again, then you can download and share it with them later. So I can see a couple things have popped up in the chat. Anything I need to address, Alex, or do you have the...
I've got it.
Okay, perfect. So that report builder really gives you one-stop shopping to build the business review, present or deliver it via email or paper pencil if you're that kind of MSP, whatever works for you, and customize it to be really your process. You can also build different templates. So we have one of our partners does a monthly meeting with their clients, a quarterly larger assessment, and then an annual very big assessment. And what they deliver at each one is different. So they have 3 different templates so that they know this is my monthly check-in. It's just got a few components versus their annual one, which is very big. So there's a lot of flexibility for how you may want to use those pieces. Now, we've talked a lot about business reviews, and we try to jump back and forth between quarterly business reviews, strategic business reviews, technical business reviews, et cetera. But the important part is that quality business reviews. So we'll stick with QBRs, but maybe it doesn't mean quarterly. And that is because in our scheduler, which does not push back to a calendar function, we are going to be pushing this back into the ability to push to a ticket. So you could use the ticket to calendar inside of PSA, but I like to be very clear on that. This calendar will let you schedule out these business reviews. As Alex mentioned, we have one of our clients that'll do 3 a day himself. But if that seems overwhelming, this will help you keep track of how many you have going on. And if
it seems overwhelming to me, let's be honest, that guy's a machine, but
yeah,
it's doable.
He's a beast. So I only have one that I'm attending. So really, I'm in good shape. I will be well prepared for my August 2021 business review.
Right.
So this will let you schedule out your business reviews. And when you click in, so I went from scheduler and now I'm going to dive into the business review for creative designs. I can take a look at historical reviews that I have done, all of the notes associated, along with any artifacts. And if I need to for a client, I could change the settings. So I could say, okay, they've gone up in MRR. They're now paying $6,000 a month. I'm going to move them to a month, a quarterly business review from semi-annual, or maybe they're up to 20,000 MRR and they're getting a monthly, et cetera. So whatever your cadence is, it acknowledges that they don't have to be done quarterly, but you should stick to a cadence, especially if it's in your agreement. I think in light of recent events, there's no denying that if we have business reviews listed in our service agreement, we should deliver them.
Yes.
So let's get them on the calendar. Let's make sure we're sticking to it. And the calendar will definitely show you which ones have been completed. So if I go back and look historically at what we have done, I can see which ones have been completed. Alex, we have skipped a lot of imaginary business reviews in our platform. So
my bad. I've been busy.
We have been busy,
Yeah.
but I promise these are only imaginary clients and they're not suffering because of it. But that is the importance of it for sure. So at this point, I've gone through the company reports at the top. So if you look, there's a divider here for MSP reports. The lower half gives the same types of reporting, but across all of your clients. So if you wanted data quality across all of your clients, I could see that most of my clients are good to go for a business review, but in Hunter Lodge, I should probably do some data cleanup before I deliver a report. Asset ad hoc, if I decide today that I am going to go, let me grab Make instead. I'm going to go switch out all of my Sophos devices. I need to know that I have 2 of them and they both happen to be at Hogwarts. But if they were across 4 clients, I would see all of that here. Project roadmap. So I can now see across all companies. So this is an internal project roadmap that I know if we can handle about, I'll say Q2, if we can handle $50,000 worth of projects and we have 80,000 worth of projects scheduled for Q3, I better start booking for Q4. I'm making promises my techs can't keep. You can also limit this if you want to get, and we have project roadmaps for individual companies. Microsoft 365, Alex mentioned the licensing concern that one of our MSPs addressed right out of the gate. You can see where the active licenses are, and if there are more than there should be. And then again, the scheduler. So that is kind of the cross company reporting that we have. And then down below with account settings, the one piece I'd like to address, as I mentioned at the beginning, we talked about asset type policies. So this is where you can define for a particular asset type globally your defaults. We give you some defaults, but one of the first things we say to do is go look at the default costs, because this is going to push the replacement cost column and push to the budget. So it's very critical. And you can change this information within the asset itself or the asset type or within an individual company. And I showed you within the asset as well. So I would say that is a good number of the bells and whistles, and I could talk for hours more about all the nitty gritty, but I'll pause there and see if we have any questions. I can see, Alex, you've been answering a lot of them in the chat.
Yep, I got most of them in the chat. Let's see, anything worth chat worthy? No, I think we're good.
Perfect. Okay, well, with that, I will jump into, folks always want to know, well, how much do you cost, right? That's always the popular question. We're not shy about it. We feel like you'll earn back your subscription fairly quickly. So on our pricing page, and Alex, can you put the link to that in the chat?
Yep.
We do offer a free trial for 30 days, which we recommend to everybody. You can take a look at your data cleanup. You can get warranty asset, you can do warranty lookups, et cetera. And you can really see what your data is looking like and what it might feel like to work with us. But it is then based on the number of active customers per month. Again, you choose. So it doesn't matter if you have 300 active in ConnectWise and you only want to look at 7, you could just get the up to 25 customer package, right? So you get to select the customers. And again, anything above that, you can do assessments on. So that is how the pricing works. Onboarding is free. So we are happy to help you. And there are 3 ways. So as soon as folks sign up, you'll get an email that says there are 3 ways to onboard. First is, since the most popular hour of the day to sign up for Lifecycle Insights is 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. And Alex and I are both on the East Coast. And though Alex is awake, he's probably not going to be doing onboarding meetings then. So we have a checklist right in the platform where you can dive in and get the documentation, as well as a link right to where you need to do the work. We do onboarding meetings on Wednesday afternoons with Alex, who will talk through, we have a 4-week cadence on different pieces and parts of the platform. And then we also always offer calendar invites to anybody who wants to just work one-on-one with us. The other pieces, we have a lot of supporting documentation and help, including all of our new to LCI videos that you can watch to kind of help you along the way, because we really want to make sure that we can work with whatever framework you can work in. MSPs are busy and fires happen right before meetings all of the time. And so sometimes we know you can't get there at the time. So that is kind of what it looks like to work with us. Any questions on that?
I have a question here just about compliance. And the question was if we have offshore teams developing this. So just to respond to that, we are 100% North American, United States based. All of our development and all of our everybody on our team in general has an East Coast United States address. So with that, I think we can check the compliance boxes that most people are looking at, with the exception of FedRAMP. If you're dealing with FedRAMP, you have to have on-premise, and it's a whole other story. But for 99% of compliances, we can check the boxes.
Perfect. Any other questions for us? Okay, I put the link to our page in the chat. So if anybody's interested in a free trial, we would certainly love to see you there. If you have any questions for us, I'm actually also going to put our booking link in the chat. If you would like a one-on-one to ask questions that maybe you didn't want to ask in the group, we're good with that too. Okay, I feel like those are all of the links.
I think that covers it.
Perfect. I will send this recording out, and then Alex, you'll have to remind me, I promised to attach the agenda. So we'll send our sample agenda. If you're at the don't know where to start stage and what to deliver in a business review, I'll send you our sample agenda template that you could use to model off of.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for coming. We enjoyed chatting with you, and hope to see you life cycling. Have a good one.